All right, so today we are going over the chemistry midterm review for 2025. For question 1, using your knowledge of periodic trends, explain the following trend. So I need you to look at the periodic table and tell me which direction does it increase, going left to right, right to left, up, down. We know it goes. And it increases. I need you to do the following for B and C, remembering that electronegativity, the lowest is francium and the highest is fluorine. So now that we've figured out our answers to 1, using this knowledge, you're going to place these in order from increasing electronegativity. So you want the lowest to highest for these two. Same thing with here. You're going to place the following in order from increasing atomic mass from lowest to highest. So using your knowledge of the periodic table, please remember that the atomic number represents the number of protons in an atom. So since we know the number of protons in the atom equals the atomic number, we can then go and figure out how many or what the atomic number is for carbon, and the electrons equal the number of protons, and the number of neutrons is the atomic mass minus number of protons. You'll have actual numbers in these boxes. I'm just giving you how to find them. So using what you know about the subatomic particles, we need to fill in this information. We know that electrons essentially have a weight of 0, and they're located either in the electron cloud or the nucleus. I'm going to let you make that decision. And I'm going to give you a second to fill the rest of this out. I do want to let you know that that 5 means nothing. You can just scratch it off. I accidentally left it there. All right, so we're going to write the definition of ionic and covalent. Ionic bonds are between a metal and a nonmetal. And a covalent bond is between two nonmetals. Using this knowledge, I need you to identify if this is covalent or ionic for each one of these. Also noting that these two here are polyatomic ions. Once you have identified these compounds, we're going to name them. So pause here so you can identify. Now we're going to name them. As you have identified them as either covalent or ionic, you can use your naming, writing compound names chart to walk you through the steps of how to name them. So first you identify what the element symbol name is, and that first one goes straight down unless you have a multiple. Then you name the second one, replace the back letters with IDE, and you put your prefix. So in this case, oxygen has 5, so it becomes pentaoxide, looking at those prefixes. And this nitrogen has 2, so it becomes dinitrogen. When we read it all together, it's dinitrogen pentaoxide. When we name ionic bonds, this is 2 for binary ionic compounds that are 2 elements with no transition metals. We write the first one's name, so we identify what the element symbol's name is. Then we write the second one's name, right? We identify the element symbol's name and change the last few letters to IDE. Same thing if I have multiples. That first one just is potassium, and my second one is oxide. If I have a transition metal like iron or chlorine, I am going to have to tell the person how many or what my charge is. So in this case, I have a charge of -1 on chlorine, and I have 2 of them, so I have a total charge of -2. And I need a +2 over here to balance that out to equal 0. So I'm going to have iron 2 chloride because I have to have that charge of 2 and tell the world. Now with polyatomic ions, we are going to write the name of the polyatomic ion as found on your polyatomic ion sheet, either if it's in the front or the back, just how it is. We do not change the ending of polyatomic ions because that tells us what they are. If you have an item in the back, we're going to drop those last letters and name it IDE. So pause the video here to complete A through F. For number 7, we're going to use this chart here to identify if the following bonds are ionic, covalent, nonpolar covalent, or polar covalent. And how we're going to do that is we're going to find both of these. So lithium fluoride, I've got lithium here, and I've got fluoride here, and I'm going to subtract them. So 4 minus 1 equals 3. And then I'm going to look at this chart, and since it's greater than 2, it's ionic. Pause the video here and do B, C, and D, determining if they're ionic or covalent. For number 8, we are going to write the chemical formulas and identify if they're ionic or covalent. So I'm going to do the first one with you. Right. We know magnesium is a metal and sulfate is a polyatomic ion. So it will be ionic. And then we're going to look at our periodic table and find our elements. Magnesium is Mg with a 2+ charge, and sulfate is SO4 -2. Since it's ionic, we have to drop our charges. So magnesium 2, I can convert this down to 1 because +2 plus -2 equals 0. So it would be magnesium SO4 as my formula. For my covalent compound, it tells me that this is 2 because I have the prefix di, and I have the prefix mono, so monooxide. I have 1 oxygen. Pause the video here and complete the ones that we haven't done. For number 9, we are going to identify the significant figures in the following number using our steps to significant figures. So step 1 is count all non-zeros. Step 2 is count all zeros between non-zeros. Then we ask the question, does it have a decimal place? If it does, we count all zeros to the right of the last non-zero, then we add steps 1, 2, and 3. If it does not, we just stop there and add steps 1 and 2. Pause the video here to complete A, B, C, and D for number 9. For number 10, we are going to round the following number to 3 significant figures. The first step to this is identifying which numbers have, or how many significant figures that number has. So I'm going to identify or underline all of my non-zeros, zeros between non-zeros, and then see if I have a decimal place. I don't. So that's all my significant digits. I want 3 in my question, so I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. I'm going to draw a line here. I'm going to look to the digit to the right of my line. I'm going to see if I need to round up or does my 9 stay the same. Since it's less than 5, my 9 stays the same and I have 109. I have to add these 2 zeros at the back because 109 is not close to 10,940. If I add those 2 zeros, they are not significant because there is no decimal place, and 10,900 is closer to 10,940 than 109 is. Please pause the video here and continue with B, C, and D. Now, to calculate the numbers with the correct number of significant figures, you will use the following rule. For multiplication and division, your answer has to have the lowest number of sig figs. For adding and subtracting, your answer has to have the lowest number of decimals. So for example, in this first one, I have 4 significant figures and 5 significant figures. So my answer has to have 4 sig figs. Here, I have 2 decimal places because it's adding and subtracting, and 1 decimal place. So my answer has to have 1 decimal place. For number 12, the molecular formula of a compound is C6H12O6. Determine the empirical formula of the compound. To determine the empirical formula of the compound, we will find the common multiple and divide. So what can 6, 12, and 6 all be divided by? Then we rewrite our formula after we've divided the subscripts with the new answer. Pause the video here and finish 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. To do 17, we are going to use the steps found on our paper to find the molecular formula. So step one, find molar mass. Then take the sample, divide it by what you found. So step 3 is multiply the empirical formula by the answer from step 2. Pause the video here and do 18, 19, 20, 21. For 22 to 24, you are going to find the percent composition using the steps on your half sheet. So step 1 is to find the molar mass of a compound. So you go to the steps of molar mass, you find the molar mass. We take the total atomic mass of one element, step 5, and divide it by the total molar mass, step 6. Then we multiply by 100 and we box our answers for each element of the compound. Pause the video here, complete to 24. I lied, to 26. Now we're going to identify the molecular and the empirical formulas. So step 1 is to identify what the question is asking for. Step 2 is to separate out our atoms. Step 3 is to convert from percent to grams by dropping the percent sign. Step 4 is to convert from grams to moles by dividing by atomic mass. Our next step, step 5, is to take the lowest number from step 4 and divide all moles by it. Step 6 is if it has a decimal place, find the common fraction and multiply by the denominator. And then step 7 is rewrite your formula with the new numbers. With new numbers. And this is just for empirical. Then you're going to use the empirical formula to find the molar mass just like we did for 20, what? For 17 onwards. So you're going to find the molecular formula after finding the empirical formula using the same steps we did on number 17. Step 1, to find the molar mass. Then we take the sample and divide it by found, and then we multiply the empirical formula, which we just found in the previous step, by the answer in number 2. And that gets you through the end of the review.